Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Dream. Welcome to the It's All Good show. My guest today was a guest of mine earlier this year. And to say that she impressed me would be an understatement. And so I have been watching her movement, which is an appropriate word for her, and all that she's been doing very closely in the last 8 months. And I wanted her to be back on the show right away before the end of the year, just because there's so much excitement that's going on with her. Her name is Gina Starbuck. And you may all recall the last time that Gina and I had a conversation. I don't read people's bios. It's just not something I do. But her bio struck me as so incredibly stellar, which then just leads to how stellar she is. So any opportunity to read this again, I'm going to take. So I'm going to read it just because I think it's so appropriate. Gina Starbuck is a retreat leader, embodiment expert, published author, and multidimensional medicine woman known for her electric, immersive experiences that awaken the soul. A master of movement, sound, and energy alchemy, she guides people into radical self-love, creative liberation, and embodied radiance. It just gets goosebumps when I read this. With roots as a world-renowned performer and decades of healing mastery, Gina weaves art, intuition, and spirit into every space she holds, igniting deep transformation, poetic permission, and divine remembrance. Her work is not just healing, it's a full body homecoming. Gina, welcome back to the It's All Good show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And thank you for reading that again. I also still get goosebumps when I hear it. I'm like, somehow, some way, words actually have seemed to match, like the frequency of what I'm actually up to, which seems to be sort of like a lifelong challenge for me. Like, how do I put this into words? It's so beyond words. So thank
It,
you for sharing.
if I may say, it's like the perfect foreplay to a conversation with you. It's just like it's so good. I can't get over it. Now, you've just been back from Egypt for 1 week. And I was just like, okay, I followed. I saw everything that you were putting out there from Egypt. And I'm like, she's back. I'm gonna get her on the show right away. And you said yes. And I sent you the link and you booked like, a time frame like almost immediately. And I'm just like, okay, this is great. So welcome home from Egypt. Um,
Thank you.
I already know that it was amazing, wildly expansive for you, and so much else. But I want to hear it from you, and I want our viewers to hear it direct from you. Tell us about the Egypt retreat.
Oh, goodness. Okay. Where do I begin? I mean, it's like so multi-layered, and it feels like while we were there, even from the moment I sort of touched down, before the group came, I came like 2 days early to kind of ground in and get myself ready for the journey. It just felt like I was in this sort of like extended medicine ceremony, and there were so many peaks and valleys and so much ebb and flow. And, I'm sure that you'll have some specific questions. I feel like what I want to share at this moment, because I feel like it's kind of unique to me, but hopefully can support anyone in a myriad of ways, is that what I had in my awareness when I arrived and it kept kind of like solidifying throughout the journey was just how much work I have already done to be able to show up in this space and to like receive these energies, but not just receive the energies that are already alive and seated within the lands and the temples there, but to bring these new codes, these what we've sort of named as the new solar light codes. There's all this new energy, it feels like, that's coming into the planet that's actually never been here before, like brand new from wherever we want to say it's from, because to me it's coming in from many different directions. But it really felt like so much of it was coming through me. And I say that with so much humility and like not from a place of ego or like exalting myself, but I just had so many moments of just like crystal clear clarity of how much on a soul level I really chose to show up on this planet at this time and sort of be a volunteer to transmit this frequency that wants to come into the planet. And so I felt it's funny you use the word foreplay because I felt like, oh, wow, my whole life has really been preparing me for this unique mission. And there will be more missions, but this was such a big one. The timing of it, the bigness of it. And it felt like I was in union with the land, you know? Like I was in this beautiful symbiosis, this dance, this like love making with the land itself. And in that, I was like really receiving all of the medicine and some of it, much of it was really beautiful and ecstatic and some of it was really hard. I mean, I sort of like right smack dab in the middle of our journey I was the first. Pretty much our whole group went through this thing, but I got this wild stomach thing, which apparently nobody really talks about it until it happens, but seemingly like almost everyone who goes to Egypt gets this, and it's like diarrhea and vomiting and like it got to the point where I was literally like over the toilet on the dabaya on the ship thinking like there's a chance I'm going to die here in Egypt and I'm going to be away from my daughter. And oh my God, how awful that would be. And that would be so traumatic from her. And I'm like moving through all this mother daughter medicine too. And there's so much to it. But I was in the mother daughter medicine was very significant because on the ship that we were on, it's a brand new boat. It's called the Magdalena Temple boat. And it's sort of dedicated to the rose priestesses, like, you know, the women within this Magdalene lineage. I will finish this thought soon. Anyway, I was in the room of Sarah Tamar. I think that's how you say her name. She's known as the daughter of Yeshua and Mary Magdalene. And it just felt so significant because some believe that in order for her to get to safety, she had to sort of go ahead on a pilgrimage without her mother, perhaps without her parents, depending on what people believe about Yeshua and his ascension and whether he actually came out of the tomb in a body or not. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. But I say all that to say it was like every ingredient of this journey was so divinely orchestrated and there were so many threads within this like orchestration that you can't even possibly make sense of it, but it all just made so much sense. I'm like, of course I'm here in this room having this mother daughter sort of fear come up, and I'm in the room named after the daughter of Mary Magdalene. It was just all so wild. So I guess I'll begin there and kind of let you lead with questions because there's really no way I could cover everything in like one interview, but I trust that whatever we're meant to bring through, we will.
What's it's interesting to me that you bring up how you all got sick there. I was in Egypt years ago, 1981, and we all got sick also. And it is something like it's not quite in the brochures and everything about it, but it does happen. So here's what I want to know. I mean, this container that you are for how energy comes in and everything else. It must be really amazing to have been on this journey with you. Now, just give us let's just back up for some basics. How many people went?
There were 8 people, plus myself and another facilitator, Sarah Jane. We also had a photographer who was like her name's Federica. She was like very much in the journey with us as well, like, you know, priestess times 1,000. And then we had our guide, Muhammad, that was with us throughout the journey on the Nile, and our other guide, Kareem, who was with us in Cairo. But essentially, there were like 8 participants there.
And how long were you in Egypt?
The journey itself was a 9-day journey. So we had 2 days in Cairo and then 7 days, Luxor to Aswan, sailing the Nile.
Now, was it all women? I know that initially it was going to be. Did it end up that way?
No, we actually had two men with us, which was amazing and perfect and like so on purpose.
Okay, love it. Just all the ingredients came together. With this was a topic last time that we talked was the upcoming, Egypt trip and all the excitement around it now. Highlights. Okay, so I just gonna just kind of throw that out there and give us some of the highlights and peak experiences.
I would say a highlight. Oh gosh. Okay. Definitely. Well, I mean, if we go kind of in order, we essentially began our journey at the Sphinx. So we had sunrise, private access to the Sphinx, just our group sitting between the paws of the Sphinx, having meditation, prayer, ceremony. And I also have to be careful about what I say because there are ways, in Egypt to sort of go in and be able to, with reverence, like do the things that we do. And also, much of this stuff is actually technically not considered like allowed. We'll just say it that way. And so I have to be careful a little bit of what I say. But that first sunrise at the Sphinx, it was to me like such a sweet way to begin. And I know that everybody had their own unique experience in that space. But for me, it was like the anchoring point of a lot of simplicity. Like, it's funny you said peak experiences, and it certainly was, but it was sort of showing to me like just how simple it can be to drop into your heart and just like just allow your heart to find its own coherence and be in the energy and the essence of love. When I sort of, after our group moment, we kind of had opportunities to be in our own energy and do our own thing. And I sort of stood up. I had been sitting against I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a slab, that's essentially like her heart, the heart of the Sphinx. And there's all these hieroglyphs on it. And to me, it was like very much about union. But I turned around and I just put my heart like on the slab and I put my womb on the slab. And I was just feeling all this. Again, it was like I was speaking a little bit before about this mother-daughter medicine. It was like this reminder, like the Sphinx was telling me, like, nobody is alone, like we're all children of the divine and everyone is loved and everyone is cared for. And there was just all this, it felt like sort of healing of like abandonment, like this core abandonment wound, even of humans feeling separate from God or something. And so for me, that was like such a beautiful moment and peak experience because I know also like a lot of my own medicine is about helping people remember that they're not separate from God and that their experience of God, of the divine, can be unique and it's perfect, that there's no one way to the divine, to that connection. The King's Chamber was definitely a peak experience for me and for us. And wildly, our group got to go into all three chambers. So inside the Great Pyramid, there are three chambers. There's a subterranean chamber, the Queen's Chamber, and the King's Chamber. And we once again had private access. So it was just our group, like literally just us inside the Great Pyramid, period. And I won't speak to the other two chambers, but the King's Chamber, we toned. We went into it with the intention of just finding one voice, so not really making it even about our individual journeys, but really coming together in coherence and just like charging up this portal, this communication device, this technology with like our unified voice. And we were toning for, gosh, maybe an hour and a half in there. And it really felt, again, like a medicine ceremony, like very psychedelic. It was like this really cohesive, beautiful field that we all co-created. But then you could kind of feel everyone together, but everyone kind of floating off on their own journeys. And I love to sing. This is like such a huge part of my gift as well. And, I everyone had their moment, but it really felt, for whatever reason, in the King's Chamber, like in our co creation, and everyone kind of holding their pillar, that they were like creating this bass note for me to then just kind of riff off of. And so I had all this beautiful sound frequency coming out of me, and it sounded like there was like 100 of us in there, even though there were only 10 of us. So that was definitely a peak moment. The Temple of Dendara was really powerful for me. This is the Hathor temple. Hathor is like the mother, and while all of the deities speak to each of us in unique ways, Hathor has really been working with me a lot, like lately, and this mother medicine. And I was really reminded of like the full spectrum of the mother, like not necessarily speaking to physical mothers, I am one of course, but just the mother code, the mother archetype, and how she's not just one note. She's a warrior, she's a nurturer, she's a lover, she's sensual, she's grounded, she's all of these things. And you can just really feel all of that within the temple. And all of the guards as well, specifically in the Hathor temple, I really felt like a very deep connection, specifically with one guard who was like, a lot of the temple guards, it's really interesting because they technically work for the government, and the government has all these rules about what people can and can't do within these temples, but they're also, most of them seem to be very like embodied in the energy of the temples, and very like aware of who's showing up in reverence and who is meant to be there, and so sometimes they'll kind of grab you and be like, come, you need to go to this area, or let me show you this, and it's again, I have to be careful what I say because we are in some ways breaking the rules, but that was really special. Watching a lot of vocal activation within our group. There was one woman specifically who started working with me like a little bit before Egypt, and her intention was to really activate her like true voice, like her soul voice. She's a singer, but she's like, I know I'm a singer, but I'm not really singing, And I watched and listened to her have all these moments of like her true soul voice coming out. And not just her, there were many others. That actual woman also was the very first to swim through the Priestess Gate. So we went to the Priestess Gate, which is now near the Temple of Philae, because they moved the Philae Temple onto an island. But the original gates, there's like two gates, are still sort of in the middle of the Nile. And when we showed up, like, not always is the water up, but the water was almost all the way up to the top of the gates. So I actually got to climb up top one of them and like bring through all this solar light and this transmission and these codes, and like hold the space. And many of us actually ended up swimming through the gates, but that one woman was the first to go, and she swam through. And when she got to the other side, she started singing. And as she's singing, the water, the literal Nile water, is just circling. Like, I'm up high, so I
Oh
can
my
see from
gosh.
above her, and I'm looking down, and there's just this portal like encircling her in the gate, and she's just singing, and she's in this portal. And there were so many moments like that. I mean, just watching everybody, like especially one of our men came, and he's the partner of a woman who's come with me on many journeys. And so he was like, originally more so, he was like, I feel drawn to Egypt and to the King's Chamber, but I'm like really here for her, to like support her and just be with her. But his journey was like so sweet. I watched him just like really come all the way into his body, and then watch his heart just like blast open. And he shared with me about one of the sessions we did. We did a lot of dancing at sunset on the Nile, like on the boat, at the like on the roof of our boat. And I had facilitated this movement session, and then we dropped in and I did some like energy healing and stuff. And somewhere along that part of the journey, I had just brought forward this reminder to like thank our bodies, to be grateful for our bodies. And it was very simple, but he said that like sort of all the things that happened along the journey, that was like the biggest piece for him, because he said, I've thought about gratitude a lot in my life and I've lived with gratitude, but I never until that moment had thought to just like actually thank my body. So that was really powerful. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but I think those are enough for now.
Just sounds absolutely amazing. And I knew that, it would be just from the buildup of, watching, talking to you 8 months ago and then watching as everything was progressing. Um, so you've been back a week. What has changed for you? How is Gina Starbuck different now than you were 2 weeks ago?
I want to say everything has changed and nothing has changed. And I think that that was a huge piece of this journey as well for all of us. This polarity, this duality, the everything and nothing, like that sort of the infinity symbol was like a big theme for us. And this is like a sidebar, but I had brought in this woman, Sarah Jane, who's incredible, who I had never physically met until we were in Egypt. But she's been guiding Egypt journeys for like 9 years. She's been going to Egypt for like 30 some odd years. And thank God she was there, because she really helped hold this container like so powerfully so that I could, yes, hold the space, but also I could really just be in the journey as well. But we both have, we didn't know, I have this tattoo that says like infinite love. It's an infinity symbol with the word love. And she has one that's almost the exact same. Hers is a little bit more like a heart, and the loops are like in a different place, but it also says love and it's also infinity. And so this like infinite love theme was at play like throughout the whole journey. I think I'm still integrating, you know. I will say one thing that has certainly changed for me is I'm feeling like a level of trust that I've never felt before. One of our guides, Kareem, talked about the pyramid being a representation of this triangle that he calls wish, work, and trust. Like if you're only wishing and you're not working, nothing's going to happen. If you're working like crazy, but you're not connected to the dream or like the wish, then you're not going to be happy anyway. But if you're doing both of those things and you don't have the trust piece, then, you can get like really caught up in the ping pong, right? But it's like the trust is like the pillar at the top that anchors it. And I think this whole year for me has been a lot of this wish and work, wish and work, wish and work. And sure, I had been trusting to some degree, but it was like that pillar of trust for me really came in very, very powerfully. And also, I got so much clarity on, like I said before, my soul mission, like how I really am here to serve the whole. And I like in that, to me, it was like, there's no way I'm not going to be okay. There's no way I'm not going to be successful. As long as I keep showing up every day, like, God, Great Spirit, use me. I'm here. I'm available. But take care of me, And I've been spending a lot of time also with this deeper awareness of my like sort of galactic origins and coming, from the stars and being someone who's like very much connected to this earth and in love with this earth, but not necessarily from this earth. And I feel like that's a hard thing to say without like being at the mercy of people's projections, but it's just the truth. It's just what I know to be true. It's like calling in my galactic support more, like really having like a more fluid connection in that way. Like, hey, like I volunteered. Like, come on, let's work together. Let's make this happen. So, I think that has shifted for me. It's just taken another octave. It's like it's a note I was singing or vibing before, but it's just in a different octave. Um, and then there are things that I have like a lot of clarity on that need to change. And I'm really holding this energy of like, of knowing that everything can't, I mean, I don't want to say can't because that's a big word, but sometimes things aren't meant to change in an instant, like in a snap, that actually there's medicine in the process of change. Like if you're birthing a child, right? You're not going to just get pregnant and have the baby on the same day. It's like there's medicine in the pregnancy, there's medicine in the gestation, there's growth, there's expansion, there's love, there's awareness. And so I'm holding a lot of like future knowing, like psychic sight about where I'm going, what's happening with my business, and also just this like sort of a more clear sense of responsibility to tend to the whole journey and not just fixate or like get caught up in the, oh, it's going to be this, it's going to be this. Well, right now it's this. So how can I love all of it along the way? That's like a conversation I've been having with myself kind of a lot since I've been back.
I really like that. I like the seeing where it's all going, but not getting so caught up in that and really being present and in those moments, and there's a that's a skill, to really do that. And also it it creates this kind of gathering of the energy during the process of getting from A to B. So I really like that, and it speaks to some different things in my life. Um, so you're back. Feels good to be back. You saw your daughter. Tell me what the moment was like when you got back, and that first moment that you saw your daughter.
Wow, it was sweet. Her and her daddy came to pick me up from the airport. It was a little wild, because I had like, it's pretty much like a 24-hour journey door to door. Like it is not a short journey. And I was like pretty exhausted. I don't tend to sleep well on planes. Like, I mean, I don't know who does, but if you do, amazing. um, but and then there was like all this traffic, so they were like a little bit late getting me, and I'm like in the chaos of LAX waiting for them. But they pulled up and she rolled down the window, she's like, "Mommy!" and just kind of like threw her body kind of over the window, and we just loved on each other. And I'd gotten her this cute little like camel stuffy that plays music, and I gave it to her. And we had like a hour and a half car ride home from there. So she asked me to sit in the back with her and like cuddle on the way home. And it was really sweet. This is something I'm really kind of being with as well, because and this is something I had talked with Sarah Jane about when we very first talked, not even about Egypt, but just connecting. Like I met her on Instagram, and we just had this like instinct sort of sisterhood coherence with each other. And of course then we end up in Egypt together and like holding these pillars and whatever. But this concept of like the mother priestess, because it seems like in so many ways we've sort of been living in this paradigm of like you're either a priestess or priest or you have a family. It's like this concept of not being able to have both. I went to the Grand Egyptian Museum after our journey was over. I stayed like an extra day in Cairo, and I didn't know if I was going to go to the museum because I was like, I don't know. But I did. And the only thing that really stands out for me from the museum was this one. I felt really drawn to this one sort of hieroglyph, and I was reading about it. And it was talking about, I can't remember like what it was called, but it was sort of this thing about like the unmarried daughters of kings having to take a vow to God that they were going to marry God instead of a human man so that they could then take the throne. And it just like really hit me, this thing about like being in service to the divine. And like I really do feel in many ways that I am married to God. And it's like, that's beautiful. How do we hold both? Like, how do I be a mother and a priestess? And I think I'm doing a pretty good job of both, but I do feel like I'm in a new era of like integrating. What does it really look like to be in full service to my daughter, to her growth, to her evolution, to the family, and in full service to my work and mothering the actual planet, which I'm here to do in many ways as well, and not allowing my daughter to get lost in that, and really like continuing to nurture our relationships. So, anyway, that was kind of like a side tangent, but it feels important because I think there's so many, especially women, right? Like, and biological mothers who, when you are a biological mother, there's so many things that happen in your physicality, like where you're so bonded with your child, and it's beautiful and it's important and it's necessary. And how can we like hold that and carry that and also be in full service? I think we can do both. I think I'm a pretty good example. And I also am aware that like I'm in the process of refining that or getting better at that or expanding my own capacity to do all of it, you know? So
No,
anyway,
that's
that was a long answer, but it was really sweet to see
no,
my little
it's
girl.
that's amazing, and that's I appreciate that answer. And one of the things that has stuck with me since our first interview is how you do it all, and you specifically. I mean, I'm in awe of mothers all over the world that are, keeping everything afloat, but you specifically, with everything you do, your greater, grander mission, and yet, how you're able to hold space for your daughter, and just the way you speak about it and her, um is very touching for me. And so I appreciate that answer. Now, you've been back for a week. You have thrown yourself back into some of your schedule. I imagine you've been dancing and doing some ceremony and some things since you've been back. Share with us what it's like, because, it's kind of like, the queen bee, or the bee went off, and now you've come back to the hive, and bringing the medicine that you are, and that what you've gathered.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't full blown hit the ground running. I did like sort of carve out for myself a little bit of like smooth landing, and I'm so glad I did because I was telling you before we hit record, when I came home, my daughter had a cold, and now I've got a little bit of a cold, so there's been that alongside the jet lag and stuff. But I've continued to like be in service with my clients, some one-on-one coaching. I had a session on Friday for my community where I called it Temple Codes, and people showed up, and I just really shared. I did receive as well, but I shared the transmission of like kind of what I received in Egypt, and I haven't been dancing much. I actually have an audition on Wednesday, which is nutty. I like don't really do industry dance that much anymore, but I just had sort of told my old agents, like, I want to be available for that again. Like, I miss that. I love that. And I think I'm in a place where I'm ready for that. And so I have an audition on Wednesday. It's some like super secret, like private invite. I don't even know anything about the project. They're like, yeah, we can't tell you anything about the project. I'm like, well, what am I supposed to wear? They're like, we don't know. Like, okay, cool. I'll bring options. Um, but I'm also very, like right now, I've just been really, I don't want to say heavy on, but that's the word I have, heavy on the marketing for, I'm filling my certification. So I teach the lineage of healing that I facilitate, which is called embodied Akashic healing. And so in January, I'm teaching another cohort of the embodied Akashic healing, and those that journey with me for 3 months will then be certified in embodied Akashic healing. And so I'm just very eager. I realized, it's soon, like we start soon. And I hadn't really been talking about it all that much before Egypt because I was just so focused on Egypt. So once I kind of landed, I was like, oh, this is happening soon. I'm very eager to, share and just get the most aligned beings into the space. I keep it really small. There's space for 6 people. Right now we have 2 enrolled. So I've got like 4 more spaces. So I've just been doing my best to share more about that. And also, like I try to balance it out. Like I want to share about my offerings, but also hopefully people can like receive the transmission and learn something through my shares. So that's been kind of on the agenda. And then I also, like right before I left for Egypt, I realized because Egypt was so big to make happen, typically I would have my retreats for next year like already planned out to some degree, or at least like dates on the calendar, but I didn't have anything. So like Right before I left for Egypt, I got dates on the calendar and secured the villa for Bali. I'm doing Bali in July. And so I've been, sharing about that and getting that filled up. That's going to be a really small, women's only retreat, very focused on like the mother current, overflow, connecting to your wild feminine essence, the part that is like just so filled up and so nourished. This is how I feel about Bali. Like the land itself is just so rich and so nourished. It's just like, oh yeah, let me make more fruit. Let me like, and the people pour into the land as well. Like they're putting offerings out 3 times a day, and spirituality is very much part of the culture. And I think that has a lot to do with it too. It's like, yeah, of course this land is going to be abundant because it's got humans that actually like love and respect the land. But anyway, so I'm eager to feel that, and then I just have really been like honoring this sort of reset energy, but also honoring the fact that I can do both, right? Like, I think that for everybody, but especially this priestess path, it's a spiral. And it's like you can be like in a period of gestation in one area of your life, but you can be full like birth mode in another area of your life. And there can be like death cycles and birth cycles and everything in between kind of happening at once. So I'm just like really in this energy of like, okay, there is a reset happening, and there's also aspects of my life and my work that really want to move. And so just kind of holding it all and listening and moving accordingly.
Love that. And we'll make sure that we put the links for the July in Bali and the upcoming certification training in the description for this so people can take a look at that. Uh, has so you have this huge experience in Egypt, and I know you're only back 7 days, so this could be a little premature of a question, but has it affected who you are, which is different yet the same as who you were before you left? I get that. But has your approach to anything shifted, or some of the offerings that you do, have you noticed like a different sort of thought process about it? Because I mean, you had an expansive experience, and it's got to then touch on every aspect of who you are and what your offering is. And so share with us, if you can, this early on in your return, how that might be for you.
Hmm. Well, there's so many things I want to say to this. I am certainly aware that it's go time to some degree on this big vision I've been having. It's like go time for phase one, and it is associated to the work I've been doing, yes, but it's like its own thing. Like there's this whole other entity that wants to be like stewarded into the world by me. I can share that it's a nonprofit. I'm not yet ready to kind of like lay it all out there because I haven't even like registered the nonprofit yet, but it will be really a lot to do with art and education around womanhood and girlhood and like the blood and birthrights and what it means to like actually be a woman and a girl in this world in a way that's healthy and resourced and empowered and connected and deeply sort of immersed in this current of being really devoted to your soul. So I'm really excited about that. And then there's like kind of a bigger vision that kind of builds upon that nonprofit, but it's all in this energy of like the red thread, this divine feminine mother blood and birth and womanhood and sensuality and like reclaiming those things. And I've been thinking a lot also in this inquiry that I brought up earlier about my daughter and like how I can really hold both my mission as a priestess and as a mother. And it really feels like, somewhere in my soul memory, I recall that we initiated our daughters into these ways. How exactly those initiations looked, I haven't got like a crystal clear clarity, but I mean, there's even like books written about it. And I think for me, my daughter is 9 now. So it'll be soon enough that she will probably come into her bleed, her menstrual years, and I'm envisioning that this big vision that I have will kind of coincide with that I can help within this nonprofit and within this big vision hold like a ritual, a ceremony for her when she arrives to that time of her girlhood, her womanhood. And so, yeah, there's just like still pieces kind of clicking in, but it's like I think I'm really am being called to share more and teach more on this might sound really wild, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. I haven't said it publicly yet. But this like mother whore thing where, and when I say whore, that word has been completely misconstrued in our culture. I couldn't tell you the actual like origin meaning, but it was not a dirty or wrong thing in the past. It really spoke to women who understood sexuality as a spiritual practice, as a gift, as a way to be more connected to the divine. And I think a lot of mothers lose that, like the women become mothers and then whether it's cultural conditioning or whatever, like some sort of energetic thread, it's like, and of course, there's caveats to this, right? Like, I don't think, especially in the early motherhood years, you're not meant to like really be doing a whole lot besides focusing on that bond with your child. But I'm speaking to like, as children get a little bit older, my daughter is 9 now. We're no longer like sharing an aura that happens for the first 7 years. I think women need to sort of reorient their sexuality as mothers and know that like actually the sexiest bitches out there are mothers. Just say it in a kind of silly way. Like nobody knows their sexuality more than someone who's actually grown and birthed and nourished a child, like it's just is what it is. So I think there's a call into that a little bit more. And I've kind of been teasing out this sensuality, sexuality piece. Like I know you've been following me, so you've been seeing it. I mean, I've had like kind of big reclamation in that area for myself. And so I've just shared it powerfully as I can and as authentically as I can. But it all it's all sort of a part of this web that I'm weaving. But it's like the other piece for me that I think is very fresh is like this awareness that like it all matters a lot and it doesn't matter at all. Polarity, like it actually doesn't really matter what I'm offering because it all holds the same thread, the same frequency. Like, and that was very clear to me in the Egypt mission as well, because I had Sarah Jane, because she's so well versed in Egypt and the lands and how it operates, and because her energy is very like strong, she's like a lioness, like willpower, boom, and like get in there. And I actually tend to operate that way a lot. Like that's sort of maybe even my like more default mode. But it was this wild thing that happened in the space where like I was very called to, yes, I was there and I was sharing and I was showing up, but it was like I was kind of called a little bit more to step back and just hold the container and like really seeing it's not about me. And like up there on Priestess Gate, it was just like, girl, you literally don't have to do anything. Like you just being here on this planet, that's it. Like that's what you're here to do. Everything else is just like you get to choose, really. Or like you can listen to what people ask of you, but it doesn't matter. Like I could be teaching on sexuality and motherhood, or I could be teaching a twerking class in Los Angeles, or I could be, it's like anything. I could be doing anything, and it all just is. And so that's kind of been an interesting thing. And I think that happens for a lot of us on the other side of these like really intense sort of medicine journeys, whether it's sitting with plant medicine or going to Egypt or whatever. It's like we do all kind of come back. If I don't want to say if we do it right, because there's no right way, but I'm just going to say, like, for the sake of this conversation, if you do it right, you are going to have this inquiry of, like, it all matters, but none of it matters. And that's like part of the journey, I think.
I so appreciate what you bring to humanity. I mean, in general, not to sound like, ooh, um, I can't help but think of the work of David Hawkins and the map of human consciousness, and that when we're able to hold that frequency on the scale anywhere above 200 to 1,000, because below 200 it's not helping the planet, but above 200 it starts to, and then love is at 500, and then it goes on from there. That work of his really showed that you don't have to do anything. Like, you can be in the cave or on the mountaintop or whatever and just be holding that for the planet, for humanity, and it will have its impact. Obviously, that's not what it's about for any of us that are, really holding that energy. It's to share and to bring it out there and to infuse our outreach and our projects with it. I would be paraphrasing. I'm in agreement with the fact that modern culture and society has not done any favors for women, and that it's time to shift that energetic. And it's beautiful to hear your vision, to hear, all of it from you. And that, of course you have a 9-year-old daughter, and that is that her energy is part of what's guiding you and giving you perspective and everything else. And it's truly beautiful. I consider myself blessed to have put the word out last spring, and to have had you show up, because just from a personal sense, outside of a couple of podcast conversations that are public, just from a personal impact sense, I'm grateful for these conversations for me. Whatever about my viewers and listeners and whatnot, not really. But you know what I'm saying. That I appreciate the impact and the energy, and these shared conversations. It means quite a bit to me. I appreciate you taking the time after being back such a short amount of time to step into this space with me. And yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And so much of what you speak of, without all of a sudden making the interview, where I'm sharing a lot about my own personal stuff, but so much of what you've spoken of, and everything relates, oddly enough, to me as a man, but all the things that I'm giving birth to in my life right now, and focusing on, and shifting from the way that my outreach had been, into what it's coming into and everything else. It's beautiful how everything you've talked about in my world is touched by your energy, and so deep appreciation. We're nearing the end of our conversation here. I want to give you an opportunity. We've touched on some really beautiful things and all. Is there, you want to leave us with anything? Anything you want to do or offer for us right now? I'm wide open to. So I know that you have this beautiful innate ability to just tap into what is being called forth in the moment. Another aspect of you that I really appreciate. And so I'm just going to kind of throw the ball into your court, as it were, and see. Oh, beautiful.
I mean, you asked for me to bring something through. I just really feel like, first of all, thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for your words and your reflections and just your heart. Like, I can feel your gratitude and your appreciation. And it's totally okay if you make it about you, by the way. So, just putting it out there. Um, I would love to just share whatever wants to come through. So it looks like I have original sound for musicians on. I just want to make sure you can hear this
Yes.
and you can hear me talking.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, is it okay if I just invite everyone into a little drop in?
Yes.
Beautiful. So I would just love to invite you, if you're listening, to take a nice, deep, juicy breath in through your nose. If it feels good, you can exhale with some sound. Even if you're driving or playing with your kids or multitasking, you can still receive the medicine of this moment, just continuing to breathe deeply and just receiving a pillar of light coming in, filling up your every cell, head to toe, toe to head, knowing, trusting, and receiving the beauty and the joy of this sound, of this moment. I'm just going to bring through a little song line, an intuitive song line, and I'm hearing that the gift of this is the gift of beauty, truly just knowing that you are here in relationship to this life, and that is a beautiful thing. So just continuing to breathe. Just feeling your belly, your solar plexus. Just letting the whole system have a moment of reset, resetting to your 0 point, the point of creation. Just allowing now a golden pool of light to appear. Once again, just filling yourself up with this golden light. We'll just take 2 more deep breaths in and out together. Inhaling all that is good and true and all the beauty that's available to you. And exhaling, letting go of anything you don't need. If you did close your eyes, like my good friend Dr. Dream, you can come back. That just felt like a fun way to complete. I do want to I'm pulling a card here too. I pulled the edge, expanding awareness. So this
Mm,
is actually from an oracle deck that I co-authored with my former business partner. And this card is all about that moment where you're like at the edge, you know that there's something new to jump into, and it's kind of like that beautiful dance between the like question of, okay, am I doing this? And then that moment where the clarity comes, right? Where it's like, okay, yes, and the yes fills your whole body, and that like the power of that yes, how it sends your whole system kind of into motion. And it's really like an honoring of the process of getting there, right? So, like honoring the question and the answer simultaneously, it's a really, really cool energy. And it's kind of pretty perfect considering everything we talked about today.
of course it is.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Gina, thank you so much. You are the badass, empowered Renaissance woman that this world needs at this time. And
Thank you.
add that to your bio.
I love
I
that.
I'm really very pleased. What a great way for me to you're one of my last podcasts for the year, and what a great way to just all of it. I just want to thank you very much on all levels, and then like a side thank you from all of humanity for what you're doing, and sending you all the blessings and abundance in just all areas and everything, and so much love, honor, and respect to you and your daughter, and all those connected to you. Thank you so much. The It's All Good show is a better show because of you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you so much. And I love this green orb you've got like right around your head. It's
Thank you.
perfect.
All right, dear. We will be back with you, and when you're ready to launch publicly the nonprofit and everything involved in that, we'd love to have you back, or I'll just be following you, and intuitively, probably after Bali, we'll be touching base again.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Many blessings, dear.
Thank you.